Every 4 years, when you watch election coverage, you hear a lot of this.
Key battleground state where they're voting as part of the Electoral College.
These polls, where we're standing, and what looks like this Electoral College map.
You could win the popular vote, but not win the Electoral College.
But why do we have the Electoral College? Let's open up our U.S. civics books. A long time ago, in a world far, far away. Okay, actually it was in 1787 in Philadelphia, at the Constitutional Convention. The bigwigs were trying to iron out what our democracy would look like and how we'd elect our leaders. And they drew up a few ideas. One choice was a straight-up popular vote, and that was scrapped because back then, getting enough information about the candidates to voters throughout the country would likely have never happened. Another plan recommended that Congress vote for the president. That idea got scratched too, because some felt it would create corruption and chip away at the balance of power between the legislative and executive branches. A third option was letting the state legislatures pick the president, but there was worry that a president would then feel indebted to those state lawmakers and not the citizens. The last option is something similar to what we have now, with one major difference. Back then, the electors cast 2 votes for president. The winner became president, and the runner-up became vice president. But that only worked for the first few presidential elections. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr, both members of the Democratic-Republican Party, split the vote and tied in the Electoral College. It took the House of Representatives 36 tries to break the tie. And that led to the creation of the 12th Amendment, which is why now electors vote for president and vice president on a combined ticket. Today, the number of electoral votes per state is equal to the state's representation in Congress, so the weight of your vote depends on where you live. Think of it like this. A state with a smaller population, like Wyoming, has 3 electoral votes. A more populous state, like California, has 54. That sounds fair, but when you break down the numbers, you realize an individual's vote in Wyoming is more valuable. One elector there represents about 200,000 people. In California, a single electoral vote represents more than 700,000 people. That is a huge difference, but under the Electoral College, both of those groups count for 1 vote. And in almost every state, it's winner take all. It doesn't matter if a candidate wins by 1 vote or 1,000,000. The person who gets the most support gets all the electoral votes. And that means a large portion of each state's voters aren't really reflected in the results. Let's look at New York in 2020. Donald Trump got 37% of the vote, more than 3.2 million votes, but all of the state's 29 electoral votes went to Joe Biden. That's why candidates tend to focus on those purple swing states and ignore the red and blue safe states where their party's support is already strong. Recently, a campaign to move away from the Electoral College has been gaining steam. In a 2021 Pew Research poll, 55% of Americans said they favored a system in which the candidate who receives the most votes nationwide wins. 43% said the current Electoral College system should stay. And attitudes are deeply divided among party lines. 61% of Republicans, or those who lean right, said they favor the Electoral College. But 71% of Democrats and those who leaned left said the system should change. And that's because 5 times the candidate who won the election did not win the popular vote. And the last 2 times it happened, it kept a Democrat out of the White House. In 2016, Hillary Clinton lost, despite having almost 2.9 million more votes than Donald Trump.
But I do believe our Constitution is rooted in the notion it's 1 person, 1 vote.
We need to make sure that every vote counts.
The person with the most votes should be the president of the United States.
But other people think the system is working just fine.
The idea that we would go to abolish the Electoral College, first of all, it's never going to happen.
We don't have the country controlled by 2 large urban masses. And if you have LA and New York basically controlling a large part of the popular vote, that's what you'll have.
Play the game the way it was meant to be played, protecting the small states, protecting minority rights.
15 states plus the District of Columbia have signed on to the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. These states pledge to give all of their electoral votes to whatever presidential candidate wins the nationwide popular vote. But the law will only go into effect once states representing at least 270 electoral votes, which is the number needed to win, have signed on to the interstate deal. Critics of the current system, including some Republicans, think this could help increase voter turnout.
New York State is one of the lowest voter turnouts in the entire country, and that's a shame. But that's going to change if we get the national popular vote.
But even if more states signed on, some legal experts say the change would still need congressional approval, and Congress has no real plans to move away from the Electoral College anytime soon. The last effort that went anywhere was in 1970, when an amendment to get rid of the Electoral College failed to reach a vote in the Senate. Stephanie Liebergen, Washington.
There are a lot of issues grabbing headlines right now, and inflation is one that we are all feeling. How that could have a huge impact on the races this fall. Next on The Race.